What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Josh Anton with the GreatHouse team and Remax Above and Beyond right here in chilly Cleveland, Ohio. So, inflation on the decline. Are interest rates screeching to a bit of a halt? Are we in the mix for a nice little boost for the 2023 housing market? I don't know, but we're about to tell you right here on our final Cleveland housing market update of 2022. Let's roll, baby. Okay, so 2022, big changes in this market from the last, I think, 3 years. I can't believe it's been 3 years that we were in this highly driven sellers market. So we started the year really hot, still seller driven, competition extremely high, interest rates low, and boom, the latter part of this year, we saw some significant increases. Inflation, topic of the year, it seems, and interest rates subsequently following that increased inflation rate. So here's the good news, and why we're paying really close attention to what's going on is the Bureau of Labor Statistics rolled out some stats that we read that showed us that inflation has actually halted and dropped nearly a half percentage point, which is the largest decrease we've seen this year, from 8.2 to about 7.7, which is a really nice trend. And if we follow history, we know that interest rates seem to follow how inflation really ebbs and flows. So we're feeling very good that as inflation is hopefully curtailing and we see that trend on the downward side, we're going to see those interest rates start to come down to a more advantageous level for you buyers out there. So definitely be paying attention to inflation and those interest rates. Okay, so there might be a little bit of bad news out there for you, kind of depending upon how you look at it. But inventory is always the talk of the town, especially this part of the year where winter's hitting here in Cleveland, and we notoriously see inventory levels dwindle. Well, inventory levels are at a historic low. We're down 12.6% on new listings. Our average days on the market here are significantly higher than what we've seen over the last 3 years. Now, granted, we've been a little bit spoiled as realtors here with the quick put the sign in the yard, sells in 2 days, multiple offers. That's happening very rarely in this market. But what's causing this, right? Because inventory levels aren't going higher. We're seeing average days on the market growing. Those homes are, we'll call them stagnant for lack of a better term here, but they're simply sitting. The reasons for that? Well, look, frankly, people are locked into 2.49% interest rates, and why would they sell unless they absolutely have to go get locked in at a fixed, at I think 6.65%, like I said earlier. So that's kind of what's causing this stagnant inventory. And I think if you're a seller out there, you're really thinking twice about whether or not this is the absolute right time. If you're a buyer, obviously you can look at a few different scenarios and how it plays into your finances, whether or not you want to jump into this market or not. I think this can be good or bad news for you if you're a buyer. Probably a little bad as a seller, but certainly keep an eye on the trends coming for next year in 2023. I think we're going to see some definite changes from where we are right now. We've got inflation, inventory, interest rates, all that good stuff. But what about pricing? Right? Pricing so important. If you're finding yourself in a position to buy or have to sell in this market, what should your pricing look like? What can your expectations be? Well, to talk about that a little bit, I think we want to look at some data, right? Experts are all over the map in where they see pricing really going. We've seen some really egregious takes where they think pricing is not going to decline at all. They still see an incline in many hot areas. We've had some that are completely on the other side that think prices are going to drop and we're going to see another 2008. I tend to kind of sway, maybe take the safe route here and say we're going to probably find ourselves in the medium. Everything I've read in people I trust see a cooling off period from a pricing perspective, in particular here in an area like Cleveland that tends to not have a ton of volatility from a pricing perspective. I think we'll see it kind of plateau, and we have seen it, frankly. Look, as we've looked at the home sales, and I've had listings and have had and ran buyers successfully here, and it's just nowhere near as crazy. We're not doing appraisal gaps. We're not waiving all these inspections. There's certainly more tact and negotiation to it. I think if you're a buyer in this market, from a pricing perspective, I wouldn't encourage you to go completely lowball and think the sellers are just going to give you the moon because they got to go. I don't think that level of desperation is here in this market as a whole quite yet. So I certainly think you need to still be reasonable because the inventory level is so low that there are still some competition out there and sellers still have a glimmer of hope that they can hang on and get a nice price for their home. I think if you're a seller in this market, I think you need to temper or level out your expectations slightly. Back down to earth a little bit from where we were a year, 2 years ago. If you have a nice home, if it presents well, if you've hired a realtor that knows how to market and sell that bad boy, you shouldn't have any problems if you are doing the right things and you've priced it appropriately. But you are going to get some, and I've seen it, lower offers. You're going to have to negotiate. Don't get offended. People don't know what's going on. There's a lot of fear. So I would just say this, like, don't get too scared of the pricing. I don't think it's going to get too egregious. Pay attention to what your realtor, your local statistics have to say, and price appropriately if you need to sell quickly. All right, so we've talked about some great data and things in the current market. So let's wrap this all up. Where do we see, from an opinion standpoint, like, what does this mean for buyers, sellers? What should you be thinking? Well, look, if you're a seller in this market right now, it's still an advantageous time for you. Yeah, it may not be as hot as it was a year and a half ago, but those times are done. So let's move on. Look, do things the right way. Hire a good realtor. Take the good pictures, right? Spend the time to clean and organize, make that thing presentable. There are still buyers out there, and we're going to talk about this next, why it's a good time to buy, that are looking for a great house, no pun intended. So do the right things. You should have no problem selling in this market. If you're a buyer, boy, I think, and there are a lot of people that don't share this opinion with me, and I don't think it's the right time to buy for everybody. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to pigeonhole everybody here. But if you've been a buyer, maybe you're FHA or VA. I'm a VA buyer myself. I know what that struggle looks like. If you've been maybe on the sidelines a little bit here, you got pushed away by that crazy market, I would be looking to get all in right now. Because, look, I don't have time to break down the numbers for you, but certainly with the way the interest rates are, I know they're higher and you have to budget appropriately, but the short-termness of these interest rates that we think are going to be in play here, certainly way better to get in, negotiate, do your due diligence, and not have to pay $25,000, $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 over, run the risk of a short appraisal. You can negotiate, you can take your time, you can be patient, find your dream home, because listen, I can almost assure you we're going to be speaking a different language here in probably the next year or two when these interest rates really come down and inventory doesn't really change, and all of a sudden we're back to those, you got one day to see this home and give us your firstborn to get it. So if you're a buyer and if you're an investor and if you're cash, oh my gosh, what a time to take advantage of this moment where you have these interest rates and people are lingering on the market a little bit. You can really take advantage of a great time to buy. So I want you to kind of think of it this way. I can't take credit for this saying, but we encourage you to take this into the new year. Marry the house, but date your interest rate. And I think you grab the context of that. But if you can afford that home right now and you don't have to go crazy to get it, you can negotiate your own terms, certainly get in, make it happen, get in the home. When these interest rates plummet, call your favorite local lender or a bank or whomever you use, Uncle Sam, the monopoly man, and have them refinance down to that great rate. Save yourself some on your monthly. You're going to do really, really great there. So listen, thanks for taking the time to watching all of our videos throughout this year. We wish you a prosperous end to this year and certainly a great start. We'll be doing more of these in 2023, so stay tuned. All of the information for our video is going to be below. Please like and share and subscribe. And please make sure you reach out to us whenever you're ready to buy or sell your great house. And go USA, baby! World Cup! Let's go!